Hello and welcome to Psychic Development and Channeling class number 16 with Liah Howard. That's me. Thank you all so much for being here. And today we have an action-packed class. We're going to be covering a lot of material. It's going to be about bringing your psychic readings public. We'll be doing many different venues. Some of them are psychic fairs, churches, parties, community events, organizations. So we are going to cover a lot of material, and I'm so glad that you're here and you're joining me today. Here's a picture of a psychic fair. Psychic fairs are probably the best way to get yourself out there as psychic who's really ready to go public. We're going to talk about that. First, we are going to cover some of our homework, review our homework. Remember, each week it's really important that you follow up with the reading, the exercises, the meditations, and the YouTube videos. We are going to learn about doing psychic readings in various venues. We'll do a guided meditation, again, my personal favorite part of the class. And then we'll have more homework. So last week, I asked you to do 2 activities that require courage. It doesn't have to be skydiving like this. The reason for that is as we decide that we're going to really put ourselves out there in the world as psychics, there's a way that we have to build our confidence in ourselves and in our guides. And when we do courageous things in our body, it actually brings that courage deep inside so that other areas where we might have a little fear, we can let go of. I'm hoping that you're all journaling, keeping track of what's happening in your life, your messages from your guides, and your readings, if you're getting feedback about the readings that you're doing. Okay, so we got a couple of questions. We got a few questions, but these are the ones that I chose for this week. Number 1, I am transitioning from taking donations for readings to charging. I wonder if I should start at a lower price and then work my way up to a higher one, or start at what the average psychic charges. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of students and helping them to go public with their work. And I would honestly have to say it varies and it depends on the individual, your experience, the other contributing factors in your life. Do you need to get money? Do you want to get money? Do you not need to? So there's many different other factors. I would have you sit with yourself and ask inside your guides and your angels. Usually, you don't want to just keep giving your psychic readings away for free, because what happens is you're not putting a value on them, and then people feel like they're paying for what they get. So if you put a lower value on the reading, then people feel like they're getting less of a psychic reading. So it's a very tricky way. I'm not going to give you an amount, and I'm not going to give you an amount of time for you to make this decision. But what I would say is sit with your guides and higher self and ask, what is the best price for me to charge for readings right now? And it might be different if you're at a psychic fair, where usually you charge less at psychic fairs because you're doing 3 in an hour, 3 or 4 in an hour. Whereas when you're doing a whole private hour and you're having an office space, you're having overhead that you need to cover, you would charge more. So I guess my answer to that is it's better to charge something than nothing, because then people will value it more, and what you feel comfortable with, and you can always change it. I've been doing readings since 1988, and incrementally I have increased the amount over the years, but it didn't happen suddenly. I think I stayed at one price, gosh, probably 10 years. So, and then I incrementally in the last 15 years went up from there. So listen inside, ask. You can even work with your pendulum and asking, what do you think is the best price? You will get the answer. But generally, it is a good idea to charge for your readings as soon as you feel confident, and if you have a history of being very accurate and ready to do that. How do I say no to someone that I really do not want to do a reading for? This is a great question. Probably most times you'll just say yes, 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 and it'll feel like a perfect fit and a perfect match. If there is someone that comes to you and you really just don't feel like, maybe they're a friend of a good friend of yours, or maybe there's an issue that they're so urgent that it feels almost that they're desperate and you're you don't want to have to rush into that issue at the time. There is a way, and one of the things is to say, you know, it just doesn't feel like we're a good match. I often do a little interview on the phone. When people call me, there's a few questions that I ask them. One of them is, how did you hear about me? What do you want to get out of the session? And have you had psychic readings before? Though that gives me information in terms of if they've never had a psychic reading, then and they heard about me through a friend, then they're probably trusting me because they've been told through their friend. If they've never had a psychic reading and they just picked me out of a book, they're usually a little bit nervous, and they need to sort of be coached in how to get ready for a psychic reading, to have them write some questions, to have them prepare themselves for the session. But if there is someone that you really don't feel like is a match for you, and it can happen, believe me, then what you do is you have the names. I keep the names of 3 other psychics on hand, and their phone numbers and their emails. And I send them to those people that I feel more comfortable. If somebody says, oh, you're charging too much, or, I just said, that's fine. It's just not a match for us, and I can give you the names of somebody who charges less or somebody who's more available at night. I don't like to do readings at night. That's not energetically, it's just not my best time to do that. So there may be somebody else that likes to do readings at night that you can refer them to. But if you just have a feeling of, no, I don't want to, I think you should trust that. Before you do, though, ask yourself, what is it about this person? Are they triggering something from childhood? Are they triggering something unfinished or unhealed in myself that I really need to look at? And that would be a good question to ask. And then you don't have to make the decision right then on the phone. You can say you're going to check your schedule and get back with them, and then feel if it feels right. You always want to start a reading from a place of unconditional love. So if for any reason you're not able to get into that neutral, open, loving space, refer them to someone else. Every great discovery I ever made, I gambled that the truth was there. And I acted on it in faith until I could prove its existence. This is from Arthur Compton. Just like the boat on the horizon, and the people thought the boat was just going to fall into the ocean. And then they learned that on the other side of the world, there was more land, more experiences. It's kind of like that when you really jump into doing psychic readings. You're entering into a world and a realm that is different, that is kind of unknown. And it doesn't have as many securities as perhaps a job in corporate business or something of that nature. But when you're really trusting, when you're doing a reading for someone, and you've gotten your egoic self out of the way, and you've connected to your guides and your higher self, there's that moment when you get information and you share it. That's that moment of faith. And then the person usually will respond and say, yes, I had that happen. That did happen when I was 7 years old. Or I do have this issue about relationship, or whatever it is. And you get the confirmation. And the more you do that, the more you take risks, the more you trust, the more feedback you get. And you get more faith and trust in yourself and in your guides. So it might feel a little hard initially to take this next step, to really go public, to do readings at psychic fairs or at spiritualist churches or at convention centers. But the more you trust, the easier it's going to get. I can promise you that. How do you know you're ready to do public readings? Like, what's that dividing line between I'm just going to do them privately in my office forever and ever and ever, and at some point, how do you know you're meant to do them in public? Let's look at a few things right here. Number 1, you receive clear guidance from your higher self that this is your next step. Number 2, you can stay centered in chaotic surroundings, because many public venues are very noisy. Number 3, you feel ready to be seen as a psychic. Number 4, you have a desire to reach a larger population. And number 5, you have successfully given many helpful, insightful, and accurate readings over time. So rather than it feeling like it's a huge, big leap ahead, it almost feels like your natural next step to take. Like you've mastered what you've been doing, you're confident, you feel good about what you're doing, and you're really ready to move forth in life. Let's look at each of these individually now. So you receive clear guidance from your higher self that this is your next step. Although you may feel fear at the thought of doing readings in public, there's a part of you that absolutely knows that this is your next step on your path. You may have had a vision or a dream or a picture of yourself doing this years ago. You never really quite knew how it was going to come to be, but that was there and that seed was planted. And you've been working, you've been learning, you've been growing, you've been very devoted to your spiritual growth, your emotional growth, your integrity as a psychic, the quality of the work that you're doing. And there's this feeling your higher self is saying, you're ready. Sort of like when you've been in school and you graduate and you go out and get that job and you really help those people. In a way, when you take yourself public as a psychic, you're ready to help larger and larger audiences. And it just feels just like this girl walking on this path, one step at a time. This is the next step. And you'll know it. You will definitely know it. I've worked with so many students who've come to me and they said, you know, I'm like a closet psychic and I really want to come out in the world and I really want to share and help. And I am happy to say that many of them are doing radio, they're doing cruise ships, they're doing public venues, public speaking in many places, they're doing teaching classes, seminars, psychic fairs, bookstores. So it can happen, and it can happen for you too. So number 2 was you can stay centered in chaotic surroundings. When you decide that you're going to take yourself out in the public, that means you have to be able to stay centered deeply inside regardless of what's going on out here. So if you're in a group setting and let's say you're at a breakfast meeting and there's 30 people and all of a sudden 15 more people show up and they have to put up 15 extra chairs, you have to be able to stay centered regardless of what's going on around you, that inner connection becomes stronger than anything external. So one must have the ability to maintain their inner connection regardless of what is happening around them in order to do public readings. For example, you cannot be bothered by people looking at you. That's the ego that wants to look a certain way or be a certain way. Let that one go. You cannot be bothered by people hearing you. So you have to be able to, you know, psychics that just sort of whisper the message to their client, they have to get louder so their client can really hear them. And environmental distractions, this could be anything from light. When you do television, there's bright lights or sound. There could be sound in another room or in that room somewhere, temperature. If you're used to doing your readings in a very contained office where you are in control of all of the circumstances, the light, the sound, the music, the temperature, everything, and then you go to a public venue, let's say a community center or a church or some other venue for doing readings, and you can't control any of that. You have to be able to be flexible, to go with what's there, and to know that your inner connection is the most important thing. The other thing you're going to have to deal with when you go public, of course, is skeptics. There's many skeptics out there in the world. You may be doing a public event. Maybe you're speaking in front of a large audience on stage at a local mall. And some of the people know you're there, you've done advertising, and they're there just specifically to hear you and to get messages as you do psychic readings. And other people are just walking by, they're on their way to buy shoes, and they just happen to catch an ear of a message, and they get drawn in. And those people might not be as supportive, although I have found that with many of them. I've done many malls, that the right people seem to be drawn, and you just have to trust that even though someone may be skeptical, you could be the first psychic that they really learn to trust. You could be the first psychic that makes a difference and helps them understand that there are angels, there are guides, there are loved ones on the other side that care, and that this dimension, this third dimensional reality, is not the only existence. So it's kind of exciting. When you go public, it's a way of bringing your light and your love and the guides and angels' light and love out into the world in a much bigger fashion. And I have gotten many referrals and clients from just going public, doing a big local mall and having people in the audience raise their hand and ask a question and get the answer that they needed in that time to help them. So number 3 is you feel ready to be seen as a psychic. I love this sign. This is from Casadega Spiritualist Camp, and that is a whole community of psychics. I mentioned it in one of the earlier webinars. But there's no fear there about being seen. I mean, they're saying, we are psychics, we are mediums, come on in. Come on in. Here we are available. So you know in your heart that giving psychic readings is your calling. You feel that. There's a way that, you know, it might be a little out of the ordinary in terms of regular jobs. You know, most kids don't say, I want to grow up and be a psychic. I kind of did, but most kids don't. You're ready to claim the title of psychic with pride, respect, and integrity. That there is a feeling of being honored. You are honored to be a psychic and an intuitive and to be able to help other people. And you're willing to be vulnerable to public scrutiny and not waver in your commitment to doing your work. I remember when I did my very first class teaching channeling and psychic development, it was in a small town in Florida, kind of Bible Belt area, and there was a big magazine, newspaper article that came out about it, and I thought, well, here they're calling me devil's work. I guess I got that one out of the way. Now I don't have to ever be afraid again, because I just knew the work I was doing was bringing a lot of love and light in the world, and I could feel it from the people I was working with. And, you know, it never happened again in all these years. It's only been positive, positive, positive. So number 4 is you have a desire to reach a larger population. So there'll be this feeling inside, yes, I've mastered doing the individual readings or couples readings, and there's this feeling of, I think I can feel the energy of a crowd. I can jump from person to person. It is a specific skill that you develop. It's like a muscle that you have to tune in even deeper inside, so that with each person you tune in and then you shift to the next person. You tune in and then you shift. And there's a quick turnover of the energy, and you learn how to do it, and you get so it's easier and easier and easier. Also, you're excited about being able to develop the skills to serve larger audiences, whether you're one person in front of a large audience or whether you're in front of an audience of 12. But there's a way that you're ready to go out and do more. And even psychic fairs where you're doing one-on-one, but you might do 20 people in a day. I mean, if you do 3 readings an hour, which is my preferred mode, some people do 4. But that's a lot of people to tune into in a day. So next week, we're going to actually be talking about radio and television. But this week, we're going to be talking about the events that you can participate in as a psychic. And the 5th one is you have successfully given many helpful, insightful, and accurate readings over time. So you don't want to just suddenly go public with your readings when you don't have a good track record, when you don't have enough experience under your belt to really stay very, very centered inside and to really stay clear and collected and calm, to be that calm in that chaotic storm of whatever, you know, venue you happen to choose, whether you're doing I mean, there's so many different venues. I have people call me who want to do a family gathering. All the family gets together and they want a message from a loved one that's passed over, or a women's group that gets together and they want to all get messages. So there's many, many different venues. So you want to have a history of receiving positive testimonials from many clients regarding the content of their sessions that improve the quality of their lives. So you've gotten feedback that not only did they benefit in the moment, but they have had good success in life with the information that you've imparted to them, and they have made positive changes and are moving forward on their paths. Also, you want to have a positive reputation in your community for being a good psychic. There are psychics that are not good, that are out there, and sometimes those psychics are the ones that give the really, really good psychics a bad name. So you want to be the kind of psychic that has integrity, that's clear, that's dedicated, devoted, there for service. Here are a number of possible venues for public psychic readings. I actually have done every single one of them and more. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Psychic fairs is, I think, again, the very best venue for when you're really ready to go public, but you want a little support in the structure of how to do that. You're maybe not ready for a huge, big audience, but you're ready to do a booth at a table, maybe in a quiet corner where you're comfortable, and just do those individual readings. bookstores and metaphysical stores. Now, it doesn't have to be a metaphysical bookstore. Many, many bookstores will invite psychics into a little corner to do readings. That helps to sell the books in the metaphysical section of the store. And then there's the metaphysical stores with the crystals and the sage and things like that. Those stores often are very open to having psychics come in, and it actually brings more clients into their store. So it's a win-win. You're benefiting them, they're benefiting you. Then we have retreat centers. This is an absolutely wonderful venue for doing psychic work and intuitive readings, because the people are there on retreat. They're already devoting a certain amount of time, whether it's a weekend retreat or a week-long retreat, to looking inside, usually to spending some time with themselves. So it would be a perfect opportunity. I've done this, of course, I'm in Maui, which is Retreat Central. There's so many retreat centers here, but have done many retreat centers where I would be the guest speaker that would come in, do a group message for the individuals on the retreat, and then they would sign up for private sessions, and I would set an entire day aside and do a whole bunch of private sessions like that. And then they go back and they tell their friends from wherever they are, and then you get more clients that way as well. So it's sort of a networking effect where you start with one thing and it goes to another, and one retreat center will tell another retreat center, and it just kind of, it's a way of when you're really ready to go public. Farmers markets. Now, farmers markets are nice because they're outdoors. You can set up a beautiful booth, and you can have regular clients. A lot of people buy their vegetables every week, so they're going to be coming back. We have family and or friends gatherings. I kind of touched in that where, family may have a loved one that they want to tune into, or friends, women's groups. I've done many, many women's groups more than men's groups, of course, with psychic readings. But they may have a spiritual practice that they all do together, and they want to have a guest psychic come in and give some guidance. New Age and Spiritualist churches. We did discuss spiritualist churches in an earlier webinar, but New Age churches, there are so many. Here in Maui, we have the Temple of Peace, we have Sacred Earth Center, we have so many. But the Unity churches, often they are very open and willing to have psychics come in. Not all of them, but some of them are. You always have to check. Church of Religious Science, these are some alternative types of churches that you could check into. And certainly the spiritualist churches, if you're a medium, they often have guests come in and do their readings. Networking meetings. There's so many more networking things happening now that we have the internet. We're going to have a whole class on the internet. That's class number 19. But the networking meetings, where they send out an invitation to everyone and you come and you have snacks and you pass out your flyers and your cards, or social meeting gatherings. It could be service clubs, Business Network International. I did that for quite a period of time, where you get together with other people in the community and you all share what it is that you do. So these are also ways that you can let people know who you are and what you do. Most important, you want to build a positive reputation in your own community. That is the place you really want to build a positive reputation, because that is where it is going to go out into the world. So it's helpful to donate readings for worthy fundraisers and causes as often as you can. I love to donate towards the battered women's shelter. That's something that I believe in, that I don't ever want to see a woman battered, and so I can donate a reading. The person who gets it often may not even know about my services, but they see the flyer. So I have a flyer that I have made. They see the flyer in a stand with a write-up about me, and then they donate to the event, and then they get the benefit of the reading. And so it's a win-win-win all around. Really, you're going to need to go to as many public functions as you can while distributing your business card and promotional flyer. This really does make a difference to get your face known. That's why I put my face on my card and my flyer. And it's all over my website, that I want my face to be recognized. So you want to keep your pictures up to date too. Sometimes people use pictures from 10 years ago, and then they don't recognize you. So you want to look like your picture. And it's okay if you need to put a recent picture up. And you want to offer to speak for public service groups. We have this breakfast meeting here in Maui. You may have a breakfast meeting where you are, where people get together and they share their sort of their new age things that they do, or it could even just be business ideas that they do together, and you get to be the speaker and share, and you might even do readings for the group. I always think you can talk about being psychic, but if you actually do the readings, that's when they sort of like the proof is in the pudding. When you have a group of people and you start doing readings, that's when they feel the energy and they feel more what you do instead of just talking about what you do. You're actually doing a demonstration. So I always do include that as well. Part of building the positive reputation in the community is branch out. Don't just be traditional, new age, metaphysical. Branch out. People everywhere nowadays are learning about psychic awareness and intuitive readings and messages from the other side. If you do events in libraries and they're open to the public, you don't even have to pay. As long as you keep the event open to the public, you can use libraries, community centers. Colleges often have educational courses or rooms that you can use. And adult education centers is a great way to go. Now, again, the pay isn't that great, but you're not doing it just for the pay. You're doing it to disseminate the information, to get your space known, to get recognized, to build your clientele, to build your faith and practice in yourself. So yeah, these are great avenues to do. You definitely want to create a brochure or flyer to distribute at events. And this is an example, as I held up before, of my brochure. And it talks about who I am and what I do. Have a little angel in there, giving the angels credit. And then my card. You see, I went with a color scheme of purple, green, and white. I think it's helpful to choose colors, and then when people see those colors, they're going to recognize, oh, she's gold and blue. Those are your colors. They become your colors, and you can use them on your website. You can color coordinate your website, your booth at a fair, your flyers, and all of this. It just brings a continuity to everything. And you have to, really be bold about being willing to leave your cards and leave your flyers and post them on boards and to be seen. When we go public, we want to be seen. And sometimes they say with print media that it takes 18 months from the time that you put a flyer up on a board and you keep going back and renewing that flyer and putting it back up. It takes 18 months for people to see it before it really registers, oh, I should pick up the phone and call. So be patient. You have to be patient when you're building your business, when you're building your practice. It takes time and time again. People have to see you at gatherings. They have to see you at, different meetings, and to just keep showing up. And you will see that they'll say, I had somebody just the other day say, I saw your flyer 5 years ago, and now is the right time. It's the absolute right time for me to get a reading. And she scheduled her reading. I think she had to wait maybe 5 days. And she was so excited, and she loved the reading. And I know she'll go and tell her friends, don't wait 5 years. You want to build a positive relationship with vendors, and it's really, really important. So be courteous and kind to fair organizers, bookstore owners and staff, retreat leaders, and party hosts and guests. A lot of times these people are trying to coordinate a lot of things. You may be only one person on a huge venue of psychics. There may be 100 psychics at this psychic fair, and you're only one, and they're having to deal with all the logistics and all the specifics of all these other beings. Or at the bookstore, they may be having to deal with, other people coming in with things that they want to do, buying and selling. Retreat leaders have their whole seminar that they're doing, and you're just an adjunct to what they're doing. You're not the main program. Maybe one day you will be the main program, and you can have your whole week-long psychic development or channeling or whatever your special field of intuitive knowledge is seminar. But in the meantime, be very polite, be courteous to all of these people. Your energy, they're going to feel who you are, not just that you're a great psychic, but that you're a great person, and they want you in their environment, and they want to tell other people about you. Your positive demeanor and attitude will make a difference in being asked back to that venue, because they may have, I've done public speaking at many, many, many public events, and they only have a certain number of people who do public speaking. The rest just have little booths here and there and there and there. It is an honor to get chosen to be a public speaker for a large audience at a well-attended event. And we want to really respect that and give thanks for that and have gratitude. So you want to be cooperative, communicative, polite, and humble in all of your interactions with the public. So you may be at a booth and so many different circumstances can happen when you're working at a booth. I used to do a lot of booths and a lot of fairs. I don't do so many now, but I do still to get my students out. Like I'll have a booth and I'll have tables for my students to do readings for other people. That's a fun thing to do. That's more what I prefer to do now. But so you just have to be polite and see the divinity in everybody. Be the light in all situations. I think especially when you're working with negotiating with booths, it can get a little competitive, like who's going to get this spot and who's going to get that spot and what hour are you going to speak, and things of that nature. So egos get involved even in highly evolved organizations. That's all I can say. So try to be the love and the light along the path. You want to make sure your business negotiations with the public venue is clear, so agree beforehand what the monetary compensation will be for your services. It's best to get this in writing. Decide if there will be a flat fee, in other words, you paid for rental of this space at the bookstore or at the psychic fair or at the, let's say you're going to do an event at a home. Or if there's actually a percentage that you receive, or if it's per person. So you really want to get clear on this, and you want to feel comfortable with what the percentage is. And yes, usually like metaphysical shops and stores and fairs, they take a pretty good percentage. So you have to know that ahead of time, that has to go into your planning for what you want to make for that day. Decide if you will be scheduling your own clients or if there's a central station where appointments will be made for you. At really large psychic fairs, they usually have an appointment booth with signs on the wall, and people sign up for certain times with different psychics, and it's highly organized. And you don't have to do that. You just sit at your booth, the people come, you do the reading, the people go, and they pay at a central station. But in the smaller fairs, usually the way it works, it can work, is that the people come and they pay you separately, and then you would pay a percentage to the group, or you've had a flat rate set. So you're going to have to figure out all these little details and to stay on top of it, because handling money is very left brain and being psychic is very right brain. So you're sort of shifting back and forth and back and forth. So things to consider when being a guest psychic is so whatever audience that you're working with and you're a guest psychic, and let's say you're working, it's a large auditorium, you're up on a big stage, you have a microphone, it's a large auditorium, and it's pretty full. That's a wonderful feeling to know that many people are interested and open to receiving psychic messages. It's an amazing feeling. And it's, again, such a delight and an honor to be this vehicle and spokesperson for the divine. But what you want to do is you want to feel that audience. You want to connect with each and every being before you start. You want to be aware of time, because usually at events, they're very time-oriented. People shift from this event to the next event to the next event. You want to have a short bio and intro of yourself before you do any readings. So don't just go in and suddenly start doing readings. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Get comfortable. Greet the audience. Talk to them. Tell them how grateful you are that they're there and that you get to share that time together. Thank them for being there. And I love to offer at special events a discount that if they schedule an appointment that day, they don't have, they can schedule it a month out, but they actually schedule and pay for their appointment that day, that they get a pretty good discount. That encourages them to book right in that moment instead of thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do it and maybe not for a while. What to wear for public events? Well, this is really interesting in the realm of psychics and intuitives, because you get the whole gamut, from people who wear scarves around their heads with, holding huge crystal balls, to people who wear business suits. So I like the attitude of to be comfortable, professional but comfortable, business casual attire. I put a few examples of that in here. Business casual attire. So you look together, you look well groomed. It brings more of a feeling of trust for them, and it looks more professional. And I would love to get psychics moving more, instead of the airy-fairy woo-woo, into more of the public domain of being able to be at corporate events and corporate retreats. These are some of the people, they're very, very, very stressed, and they would really, really benefit from these psychic intuitive readings. So today, I have on my little jacket, and this would be what I would wear when I'm speaking, is this little jacket over the dress. My hair is pulled up. I look kind of together. But because I'm in Maui and it's like 93 degrees, I'm actually now going to take off my jacket. I've been waiting to do that. Ha, now I can breathe. But I did want to make that point, that that's what you would do, is you would look very professional. You want to be scent free. This is more and more people are scent sensitive, so you don't want incense burning, or some people are very sensitive to sage as well. You can, I do have a rose spray right here. I haven't seen anybody that's really sensitive to rose spray. It seems like most people can handle that. I love to spray rose in an area where I'm going to be working when it's in public. But to not have perfumes and hairspray on, because some people really cannot tolerate it at all, and it's offensive. And if they have 10 to 50 psychics to choose from, and they're walking around the building, and they smell perfume or aftershave wafting from your boot, they're just going to keep on walking, because they want to sit closely, intimately with somebody that they don't have to worry about their health with. And the final thing I put is color coordinate your look with the tablecloth and flowers. I know, maybe it's a girly thing, but I love to do that. I love to think, what tablecloth am I going to use today, and what am I going to wear, and what flowers am I going to have that go. So I think that's just a nice thing to do to make it look all together. I love to record my sessions, and I record almost every single session, unless somebody says for some reason, maybe they have an inquiring husband that they don't want to hear the recording, whatever. I record all my sessions, and I work with it. I have a big, nice recording machine that I use, but some people just use a little digital recorder like this, or they use iTalk on their iPhone, or they use a Skype recorder if they're doing a Skype session. So you need to decide what is the best method of recording sessions. I think when you're willing to record a session, there's a feeling for the client of being more accountable, being more almost more authentic is the feeling I get. And you don't have to record either. You may not want to do that. You may not want to deal with the technical aspect of it. And certainly at fairs, it's much harder to record. In that case, I would say to the client, if they want to record, they are welcome to. So they may have, actually a lot of people do have their own little recorders that they bring, or phones that they bring to fairs, because they know they want to record the session. My feeling is with readings, so much information comes through, whether it's in a 20-minute mini reading or an hour, so much information. All right, we're going to look at psychic fairs now. And I have a question. I'm not quite understanding the question, so I'm just going to put this out to the individual that's asking this. What about scary? Have you ever felt that? What did you do? And is this question about it's scary to get up in front of a crowd? It's scary to sit at the booth? It's scary to... I just need you to clarify your question a little bit more, and then I will answer it. Okay? Thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, well, all right, so the fear is about public speaking. They say that public speaking behind death is like the scariest thing for individuals is public speaking. I want to address that because it's only coming from the ego, and when we're really connected to our guides and our higher self, they're not scared. Our guides are not scared at all. So if you're scared, that means you haven't done some of the emotional work, which we did in some of our earlier classes. Remember the one on the inner child and the one on listening, getting signs, and connecting. So I would say you need to go back and find out what it is that's scary about that. And the other thing is, it's okay to be scared and do it anyway. I mean, there have been many, many, many times when I'm calm, everything's all set up. I know I'm the next speaker up on the docket, and then all of a sudden it's my turn, and I feel this rush of adrenaline, like going through my body. So when I get up there and I grab the mic, what I feel, I allow it to move through me. And what I do is I say, Doreen Virtue teaches, when you get nervous, focus on service. So instead of me getting into all my stuff about how nervous I am and what am I going to say, am I going to forget, am I going to flub it, am I going to whatever, I start looking out into the crowd and I connect with a few people. Like I see their smiles and I see them looking at me and I think, oh, they're my friend. That's what it feels like for me. It feels like, let's make them my friend. Because everybody that's your friend right now is somebody that wasn't your friend at some point. So if you think about that all these people out there could be potential friends, that's pretty cool, huh? and how exciting it is that they're there to hear you, and that it's a gift. It feels like when we offer our gift in that way, that in their receiving, by them sitting there, that most people are going to be pretty supportive because they know it's scary. So if you have that fear of public speaking, lots of other people have that fear too. So you soothe their fear by you just relaxing. So sometimes you might have to verbalize it and say, I'm really nervous. And once you say it, it just dissipates the energy. It's sort of like when there's a purple cow in the room or something. You say, oh, there's a purple cow. You acknowledge it, and then you can move on. So sometimes you have to do that. Oh, here's a comment from somebody else. One person said that the more people in the group there are, the more people to love. Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, one of the tricks that I do with large groups, when I know that I'm going to be speaking at a large group, I invite a friend, usually one of my students, one of my more advanced students, at least one. And if it's a really large group, then I would invite 3. And I place them in the audience, one in the back and one on either side, so that energetically, if I ever need to look up and really see a friend, they are right there. And I know they're holding the space. I know that they're calming me. I know that they're working with filling the room with light. I know that they're doing the energetics of creating sacred space. So all I have to do is share my messages. So that's a really important thing, is if you can invite somebody out there to be a friend and to hold the energy for you, I would recommend doing that. Okay. So we're going to look at psychic fairs because, again, I think this is one of the best venues for getting yourself out there as a psychic or an intuitive or a healer or a past life regressionist or whatever area. I mean, there's so many different areas that you can use your intuition in, channel. So you want to sign up well in advance. They plan these things well in advance. There's a whole calendar of psychic events. You could go all around the country. Of course, I'm in Maui, but I would have to take an airplane. But you can go all around the country and go from event to event to event. But you have to be organized. You have to send in your money and your registration ahead of time and reserve your spot. And what I have found is the sooner you reserve your spot, usually the better booth you get. So, for example, if you can go visit the site where the readings are actually going to be done, and you walk through it, and all of a sudden you feel, oh, this is my right spot. I'm thinking of the last psychic fair that I did, and I knew just the spot that I wanted. It just felt right. I mean, it got plenty of traffic, but there was a quietness about it as well. It wasn't in the main center. It was a little bit to the side. And so when I sent my application in, I put a note and I said, if it's at all possible, I would love to have this wing of the mall for my event. And, you know, I explained that I was going to have a number of tables with students, and I got it. It was really cool. I got it. So I think that if you can, check out an event and you can't always get what you want, believe me. You definitely cannot. Sometimes you just have to take what you get, but it's good to send it in advance. Now, in this picture, you can see this psychic has a really big sign, and the psychic next to her has a really small sign. So you're going to have to figure out, what do you want? Do you want a big sign? Do you want to be seen in a big way? Or do you want a little sign? What do you feel comfortable with? So for registering for psychic fairs, you want to decide if you need electricity. They have to know that on the form, available for either a recording device or a lamp, if it's a darker place, or a CD player for music, for meditation, or for ambiance. If you don't need electricity, you have much more flexibility with what spot you can be in. Usually they charge a little extra also for electricity, just so you know. Request that your booth space be in a quiet zone, but at the same time plenty of traffic. So we talked about that. Working together with other psychics at fairs or other healers. It's really important to be positive and supportive of your fellow psychics. I mean, if we can't set the precedent for bringing more love in the world, who can? We're working with these amazing divine beings of love and light. So there's no room for competition among psychics or healers. You have to really trust that each psychic, each healer, will attract the perfect clients for themselves. That there is a way that the invisible forces know exactly who to send to this reader or who to send to that reader. I remember years and years ago when I was just starting out doing psychic fairs, and of course I was much younger then, and I always thought, oh, the older psychics, they have the advantage because everybody thinks they're so much better because they're so much older. And I think that is kind of true, even though some of them may have started 5 years ago, right? But they look older, so people think, oh, they're old and wise. And at that time I was much younger. And I remember thinking, oh, it doesn't seem fair that they're getting more. But you know what? It is fair because it's about the universe knowing what's best and the universe knowing who needs to have who. And me being a younger psychic at that time, you know, back in 88 and 89 when I first started going public, that I was getting exactly who I needed and I could help those people. So I think, you know, we have to really trust. We have to know, just like in school with school teachers, there can be 20 teachers and all these children, and one child will say, that teacher wasn't very nice, or that teacher was super nice, another child will say. So it's the match, it's how they energetically match. That's the point that I want to make. So learn about the other psychics and what they have to offer, and you can then refer other clients to them when you are full, or if you have a particular person doesn't feel like a good match for you to do a reading for. So I'm going to give you an example. So psychics who have studied body talk can do very, very detailed looking at the organs and systems in the body in an amazing, amazing way. So if somebody calls me and they want a very, very detailed session on their endocrine system, I give them the name of a local body talk practitioner because I feel like I want that person to get the best, to have the best match. And I may not be the very, very, very best match in that area. I do readings in all different areas, and I can certainly tune in there. But somebody who's had years and years of experience working specifically only on that area, why not refer out? They might refer to me. That's what I find. We have a wonderful palmist here on Maui, and I know she refers people to me, and I refer people to her. She loves to do readings at parties, and I don't particularly like to do readings at parties because there's usually alcohol, but she doesn't mind. She goes in a separate room, she sets it all up, and she's fine with that. So get to know the other psychics in your area. Become a network of light workers working together toward the one, you know, the perfection of love, harmony, and all of that. Psychic fairs, group presentations, and individual sessions. Decide ahead of time if you would like to do only individual sessions or a group presentation or both. There is so much more exposure in choosing both. So you could have a booth, be doing readings from 9 to 11, and then be scheduled to go up on stage at 11, from 11 to 11:30. Usually it's about a half-hour session. Sometimes it's a little longer, 45 minutes. Usually there's a pretty fast turnover, though. Could be an hour. And then go back to your booth. Well, when you go back to your booth after you've been up on stage, you have a lot more clients because they've seen what you can do, and that's a good thing. So think about what you want to do. It's a lot more energy to put out. You have to prepare your booth, and you have to prepare what you're going to present. And unless you're just doing readings on the spot, which is the way that I like to do it, then I just have to present myself, and then I can just go into trance and do readings, and it's really easy. You need to be aware of juggling the time frames when you sign up for a booth, and make sure your booth is covered by a trusted person when you are speaking to a crowd. I kind of learned this the hard way. You know, if you're taking cash at your booth and you leave it there and then you go up and speak, that's not a good thing to do. Not everybody's honest, unfortunately, and if it's at a large psychic fair where a lot of people are kind of mingling around, you get a mix. And again, I learned that the hard way, but that's okay. You have to ensure that your money is safe, that appointments can still be made. So there's somebody at your booth who can make appointments, who can hand out your card, who can talk about how great you are and the work that you do while you're not there. So you want to get that covered. So I do recommend, if you can, bringing a friend to a psychic fair with you to help you to be at your booth and to kind of field the questions and information, work with the scheduling. Okay, setting up for your booth, things to bring. I'm going to, on the slideshow, I will queue up this slide because there's a lot of stuff. There's actually 2 whole slides of things to bring. I bring a suitcase. I really do, a suitcase with wheels. And it takes a couple of trips, it really does. So it's okay. I've got it down to a science now how to do it. But these are the things that you want to bring. You want to bring a little clock, just in case you're in an area where there isn't a clock. that you can actually see what time it is when your client sits down. You want to bring a timer so that, again, with psychic fears, you're really staying close to time. And even if it's a home event or a small group gathering, to stay on time, to be aware of that. Bring a recording device, sacred space items like candle, flower, crystals, and stones. Crystals are great for holding down tablecloths if it's an outside venue. You really got to think about that. And even just little stones, like here's a little, it's a little koa bowl with lots of different stones, something to decorate and bring the energy. I like to bring a little angel with me. This angel often gets to go with me to fairs. And then flowers. Flowers carry a very unique essence of nature, and we of course have the flower spirits and fairies around them. It adds kind of a soft touch. You also want to bring, of course, your brochures, lots of cards, flyers, and any specials that you have. And you want to put them in display racks. Don't just throw them on the table, because the winds will come and they will get swept away. You want to have a cash box with change. Get change ahead of time so that you can make change. And again, you want to bring a friend to help set up and watch the cash and the table. Here you can see in this picture, there's 3 of them there. If one needs to go to the restroom, which it's very hard to get breaks at fairs and big events where you're there all day or you're there 2 days or 3 days. It's hard to get bathroom breaks and food breaks. So you want to keep that in mind as well. You also want to bring an email sign-up list. I have these little cards. Let's see if I can find one. That I have people fill out with their information. I'm just going to show you real quick. Not that you can see this. I'm going to cover the person's name. But you can see that it has their name, their address, their phone, their email, who they were referred by, and the date. And then if they say to me, if I'm at the booth and they say, oh, I've really been thinking about taking classes with you for a while. I'd like to sign up. I would put a notation on that card, interested in classes, to make a note to myself to call them. The other thing, you can get a clipboard and just have an email sign up. That's probably the easiest thing, is an email sign up, and then add them if you have an internet marketing, like I use iContact for my internet marketing. I add their email to that. I always ask, is it okay if I add your name to my list? And I don't share my email with other people. I keep it very sacred and special just for my events. I have discount coupons. These are great. You know, if people are thinking about getting a reading and then there's a discount coupon, they're more likely to schedule getting a session. So I have those on hand. A privacy screen, chair, table, tablecloth, and tape. The tape is to hold the table down if you need to. The chair, table, and tablecloth, some places they provide that. When you sign up for the booth, they'll say if you're getting a table, but you may need an extra table. Like I usually use their table, and then I bring a small table to do the readings in the back, to put a few things, kind of to make like a little altar area. So you may need to bring a little table, tablecloth, and tape. Privacy screens, sometimes you need to bring those. Bring a water bottle and snacks for yourself. Take care of your physical body. It's a huge expenditure of energy to do these public events. Take care of yourself. Again, I bring the rose spray. Yeah, spray a little more. I bring the rose spray. That helps me feel relaxed and centered, and it clears the space. And I love to bring angel cards. The reason that I bring angel cards, and I have many different decks, this is my newest one, is if I'm talking to a client and somebody's at my table, they can draw an angel card, and it's kind of fun for them, and I can talk to them a little bit about that, and it can be an introduction to the angelic realm or working with angels. And then paperweights are very good, especially here where we get the trade winds. You want to bring a paperweight. So let's just see. We'll pick a card. See what angel we get. Remember who you are. Archangel Michael. You are a powerful, loving, and creative child of God. You are very loved. There he is. What, can you see him? So Archangel Michael wanted to tell you that right in this moment, because some of those fears that we were talking about with public speaking, that's when we forget that we are an amazing child of God, and that we are loved, and that we have a lot to share and a lot to offer. Booking readings at a psychic fair. Most psychic fairs do expect you to do 3 readings in 1 hour. That's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and 20 minutes, and you do have to stay on time. It's not really fair to people if they sign up, if there's 12 different psychics or 30 different psychics or 50 different psychics, and one psychic is charging $1 a minute, and they're doing, you know, they're really giving the person 40 minutes and they're only charging for 20. So there's a way of staying in integrity with your other fellow psychics as well. When you stay to the schedule, it helps other people to stay to the schedule, and you're part of a larger system. It's different than when you're on your own and doing your own thing. So the way that I like to do it is 15 minutes with a 5-minute break in between. Then I can clear the energy, clear the space, start fresh with a new person. It doesn't always work that way, though. Sometimes it's 20, 20, 20, and you just have to do a quick changeover, quick changeover, quick changeover. And again, if you can block out time for bathroom and eating breaks, that's a really good thing to do at the beginning of the day, to just, no matter what, and people will come and they'll beg you, please, 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 I really got to get a reading for you and I need it now. You want to not cave into that. Take care of yourself and take your breaks. Take care of yourself. And you want to have that sign-up sheet on hand at your booth, unless it's a central place, and adhere to the schedule. There's a timer, so that gives you an idea. I like to set the timer a minute or two before the session actually ends, so that there can be a sense of completion. When you set up a booth, you want to clear it first. So I would get there early. When I have a fair, a psychic fair that I'm doing, I like to get there early. Of course, you have so much stuff that you have to bring in and set up. But when you get there early, there's a way that you can create that space and allow it to grow into a beautiful sacred space, so that you're transforming it from a mall or from a farmer's market or wherever you are. You're transforming it into a very, very special, special place where the angels can come. So you get there, you clear the area, you bless it, and you surround it and fill it with light. You set up all your table and chairs and music and flowers and promo materials. And then I want you to sit and spend a few minutes meditating in this spot. Before anybody comes, just allow yourself to go inside and to really connect deeply inside and to feel the angels and the archangels, your higher self, your guides, your master teachers, your loved ones on the other side. Feel them all creating a force field of light all around you, so that you're in a bubble of light, and nothing but light can come to you, and nothing but light can be there. We did all this protection in earlier classes. I'm just reminding you it's extra important at public venues, especially when you're used to doing readings in your own office, in your own space, and your energy's built up there. It does feel different doing them in different places, but it will get easier. It does get easier and easier. And of course, you always want to call on your guides to be there. Again, with shielding your psychic space at group events, you follow the same steps, and then you do what I was talking about. With group events, it is helpful. I love to ask somebody to come and take the money at the beginning and greet the people, so that I can just focus on getting centered and relaxed and present. So if it's a small event, say 25 people or less, you really just need one person to help you. When you go, it's almost like if it's 25 or less, you need one person. If it's 50, it'd probably be good to have 2. And if it's 100, you know, it's good to have 3. And if it's over 100, 3 can still work as long as you position them. It is really, really helpful. It helps you to relax. It helps you to be able to just focus on what your work is being the best psychic that you can be, not having to deal with all those details. They can handle it if somebody comes late. They can handle it, you know, if an issue comes up with the fan not working, or so many different issues can come up, but you don't have to deal with that. You're centered, and particularly with these group events, on just offering what you have. Again, if it's a small group, if it's 15 or less, you can pretty much do that yourself, I would say. Claiming your space at events. If possible, it's recommended that you sit in the same place for repeated events. So let's say you do a psychic fair. I used to do readings at many different bookstores, but I had one special spot that I really liked to sit at this one very popular bookstore. And I had a certain time that I like to do. And so every Tuesday I was there from when they opened at 9 until 12. And it was wonderful because my energy built up, and it had a certain way that I set it up when I was there, and the sign in the window. And so some events will be monthly, some will be weekly, and some will be annual events. If you can get in the same place, it does help. Your energy does build up there. So doing individual readings at events, you want to follow the same steps to shield your reading space and be friendly, peaceful, and present to your client. I suggest collecting payment ahead of time. I actually like to collect payment via PayPal ahead of time, or I have a square that I put on my phone. Sorry, I can't show it to you, but you just pop it onto your iPhone, and you can run the credit card right there ahead of time. Sometimes I will let a person pay that day, but I don't really like to, because I don't like to have to deal with the payment while I'm in this sort of more open, flowing space. But if you do like to collect payment on the same day, do it before the reading rather than after the reading, because honestly, if you go really, really deep into trance or into that psychic space, you may forget. And they may forget because they are so involved in what they're doing and the information that they received. So I find it's better to just get payment up front and then to focus totally on the session. Here's a little cash box to have change handy. You want to, so after you've greeted your client, they're going to, some people are very nervous about getting readings. You want them to just feel really comfortable being around you. Sometimes I ask when a client comes for a private session, do you need to use the restroom? Can I get you some water? Is the temperature okay? Is there anything that you need before we start? Just get them comfortable. You've collected your payment, and then you're ready to start. I always go through a sort of step-by-step how the reading's going to go. I'm going to start with a minute of quiet. I'm going to say a prayer out loud. I'm going to give a general message and then answer questions. And then we have a timer, and I explain about the timer, that I'll start the timer when the session begins, and then the recording as well. So I go through all of that with them, and then we start. So I usually say when I'm doing private readings that I say allow an hour and 10 minutes, because I like to do an hour for the session and have a few minutes before and a few minutes after to give them their CD. Same thing with a group. If I am doing a group reading, it takes a little bit. I like to get there early, tune into the group as they're arriving, and give a group message, and then do individual questions with the group. So I do work with the timer a lot. I find that with the timer that I'm able to go deeper in trance. I do, in group sessions, have somebody else be the timer so I don't have to think about it. So you want to, when you're doing your little booth and you've got your little table and your little altar type thing set up, you have your recording device, you have your timer, you ask the client. I always have the client think of what questions they want to ask. And then we go through the questions, we close the session. I always give thanks to every client that comes. It's such a blessing, it's such a gift, and you want to always thank them. And then I would give them any promotional material, and then psychically disconnect before your next client. This is very, very, very important. You want to psychically disconnect. We had a whole class on that. Remember, cutting the cords, putting up a rose, putting a shield around yourself, really disconnecting, letting them go, and becoming very, very present for your next client, as though it's the very first client. Each client should feel that they're like your first client of the day, and you're excited and happy to see them. That's what I want all your clients to feel throughout the day. And if you can't do that, take a break. Just take a break and take care of yourself so you can be really present and do the best session that you could possibly do. So beginning the group or individual session, you want to really quickly transition into doing the readings. Some people talk a lot about themselves before doing the readings, and I want to encourage you to be able to get into that deeper state pretty quickly. Your clients are there to get valuable information about their lives, not to hear you, and they're paying by the minute at most of these events. So let's make their minutes worth it. You don't need to validate or prove your worth as a psychic. Actually, the reading will prove that. So you don't have to say, I have this many years experience, or I have, you want to just introduce yourself, let them feel comfortable, give them the logistics, and then start the session. And I start the timing of the session afterwards. Different people do it differently, but I like them to get the whole hour in with the guidance. doing group readings. Now this speaker, she has a microphone, and this is a trick. Some people like to have it, and I've done it both ways. I've had it on a stand, and I've had it in my hand where I can walk around. I remember years ago, though, when I started doing larger public events, that I like to sit down. I wasn't quite ready to walk around in trance and do readings and hold a microphone. I can do that now, but I wasn't always able to do that. And so we sort of grow, and we develop, and we learn, and our guides learn how to work with us, and you're just going to have to feel what feels right for you. You want to encourage individuals to raise their hand when they are ready to ask a question. It's really hard when you're in a group and people all start blurting stuff out at once and you're trying to energetically tune in. So there's different ways to do this. You could say, raise your hand. That's what I do. And then I go around the room, and not everybody will get a question. If it's a large group, that's not going to happen, but everybody will benefit from everybody else's question. So I usually ask them to ask one question, and if time permits, if it's a small group and we can go around again, then that they can ask another question. Same thing with groups, though. You have to shift in terms of tuning in. Tune in, answer the question, release. Tune in, answer the question, release, go to the next person. So for group readings at events, you want to follow the same steps. For individual, you know, you might want to have like a candle and your rose spray and your flowers and all of that, and have it set up, maybe even a special little statue. And then, again, as I mentioned, have somebody else be the timekeeper, so you don't even have to deal with that, and explain to the group that even though everybody may not get a message from a loved one, or may not get a message from your guides, or in terms of the psychic readings, that they will benefit if they keep their hearts and minds open, because we are one. Everybody that's drawn together for that particular group purpose is there for a specific reason, and they will benefit. I've seen this time and time and time again. People in tears because of a message that somebody else get that touched their heart so deeply. So you want to tune into the group as a whole. Usually I do a group message first and then do the individual questions. Now there are some challenges to be aware of at public events. One of these is noise from other booths, disruptions in the schedule, the program is running late, the microphone system trouble, large public gatherings, the audience attention is variable. Some of them really want to be there and some of them don't. This is where your inner centering is so very important. You really have to gift yourself. If you need to go to bed early the night before, if you need to meditate an hour extra before you go, whatever you need to do, if you need to hold a special little stone. I used to wear a shawl. It was a very special sacred shawl that I chose the threads. Now all I used it for was meditation. I don't wear it now when I do public events, but I used to wear it all the time, and it made me feel very safe and relaxed and centered. No matter what was going on out there, I could stay centered. So you figure out what works for you to stay really deeply centered. Other challenges are, again, the skeptic or the doubter, the time pressure, dealing with clients who have had negative experiences with other psychics. You know, if you're at a fair and they're trying to choose a psychic and they had a bad experience, you want to get over that, help them to get over that. You want to be the positive psychic in their life. And then at parties, again, I don't like to do readings at parties where there's any kind of drugs or drugging or drinking, but some psychics can do that, and it's not a problem for them, and they're happy to be of service to the people. So you're going to have to tune in what feels right for you. And again, if you're doing outside events, you're at a farmer's market, you're at a flea market, you're at a psychic fair that's outside, or a special fundraiser, you have to deal with the weather, and you have to be able to get beyond it and really tune in. And of course, interruptions. Children will scream. The two things they say for public speaking is if there's a baby or a dog, those tend to draw the attention from other people, babies and dogs. So you just have to learn to deal with that, and you can. So this is just a quick review of the venues. I'm just going to tune into each one separately with bookstores and metaphysical stores. Stay open to stores that are not specifically for psychics, that you can still do your psychic work there, that you'll be surprised at what people you will tap into. And metaphysical stores often are very positive places. Psychic fairs, I think, is the best way to really get out there, because people are going there because they're psychics. Retreat centers, again, there can be many, many different types of retreat centers. Everything from a yoga retreat. I've done psychic readings at yoga retreats, psychic readings at meditation retreats, which you wouldn't really expect because that's sort of a real quiet thing. Psychic readings at different sort of spiritual consciousness retreats is what I would say. And, you know, there's so many different events. So don't be afraid to stand in front of a large group like this. Again, as somebody had said, it's just more to love, more people to love. Here's a great booth at a farmer's market. See how it's covered and it's sort of quiet inside. They have a big sign. That can be a good way to go because you have low overhead. You're not paying for an office every day. You have people that come back on a regular basis. And, you know, again, they may be going there just for vegetables or gifts and find you there. And you might be the person that really helps to change their whole life just by the reading that they get, that it helps to get them back on track. So be willing to put yourself out there, and sometimes do it with a friend, another person who maybe they have books to sell and you want to share a booth. If it's too much for you to do it individually alone, if there's somebody else that you can do it with, it's always easier that way. And again, family or friend gatherings, these are great opportunities to just put yourself out there to psychics, to small groups, to women's groups, to small seminars. And again, the New Age or spiritualist churches, I encourage you to call them, to write to them, to go on their websites. You can check out their websites. You can see if it looks like a group that would be welcoming of this type of work. And sometimes, even if they haven't up until now, if they meet you personally and they feel comfortable with you, they might let you start in a small way there. And networking meetings. Don't discount networking meetings because people are wearing suits. These places also, there's many people. Psychic work is getting much more integrated into our mainstream culture, and so be the bold one. Be the one that goes out there and says, "Yes, would love to speak at your meeting. I would love to do readings for your group." You have to clean up your space after an event. We're going to do the guided meditation in just a minute. But you know, this is really important. Whether you're doing an event at a huge hall or whether you're doing an event at a small little living room, clean up after yourself. Pack up your stuff. Usually your host is on a time frame as well. And of course, most public events are on a time frame. But when you clean up and you get out on time, they're going to be more likely to invite you the next time to come back and to be a part of their lives. Maybe it's an annual retreat or an annual event that they have a family reunion every year, or they have a special seminar every year, and you could be the regular guest psychic. All right, we're going to do a guided meditation. I'm going to just invite you to sit comfortably wherever you are. And uncross your legs. Put your feet flat on the floor. You might want to close your eyes, but before you close your eyes, I would like you to look at this picture. This is a picture of a speaker in front of a very large audience. My hope is that more and more people will come to events like this, something like Esther and Jerry Hicks. Well, I know Jerry's passed over, but Esther Hicks, who stands in front of a huge group and does beautiful channeled messages for many people and helps so many people with the love and light that comes through. And you too, if in your heart you've felt a calling to do this, I want you to just imagine that this could happen for you. All right, so close your eyes. Let go of the external world. Take a breath in, breathing in light, breathing in love, breathing out any disturbance in the mind or tightness in the body. Just allowing yourself to relax. Feels so good to just relax and let go. So as you hear my voice, breathe in even deeper. Breathe in peace. Peace is always available to us. We just have to choose it. So I want you for a moment to imagine that you're standing on this stage in front of all these people, and you are the guest speaker. You are the guest speaker that all these people have come to see. And their hearts are open, and their minds are open. And as you stand there, you feel yourself like the most beautiful flower that couldn't be any more exquisite. And just like flowers love the attention that you give them, when you go up to a flower and you sniff it or you look at it and you say, "Ah, you're so beautiful," that's the feeling that you have with this audience, that they see your essence, that they feel your beauty. And that just by being you, it's enough. Just by being you, your radiance shines through. Your light shines through. And any readings you do in addition to this, that's just icing on the cake. It's just extra. By you being able to be up there and share your light and share your presence with all these beings. And imagine that you've just completed speaking to this audience and you were up there full hour and you had so much to say about who you are and what you do, and then you did readings for all the people in the audience, and there's this feeling of grace, just grace, a feeling of thank you, angels, you really showed up, thank you, higher self, you really helped me, thank you, divine light that I am. That was easy, that was effortless. And you're smiling. And you're smiling because all you had to do was get out of the way. And you're smiling because you've known deep in your heart that this is what you're meant to do. And you're smiling because you know that many people have benefited from the love and light and truth that you brought forth. And that many hearts are healed as a result of your being there in this large group today. So let yourself feel the excitement and the delight. And let yourself feel the love from this crowd looking at you with appreciation. Thank you for reminding them who they are. Thank you for reminding them of their light and their love. Thank you for reminding them about all the other realms and dimensions and how loved they are. And feel your heart connecting with the heart of everyone in that audience until there feels as though it's just one heart, the divine heart. One divine heart pulsing. Pulsing with love. The heart of the divine. They are you and you are them, and there is oneness and flow and connection. And each of those beings has guides and angelic helpers and their higher self looking over them. And the room is just pulsating with love and peace. And now it's time to thank your audience and step off the stage. And as you do, there's a little jump in your step, a little leap of lightness. And you get behind the curtain and you say, yes, I did it. And it was easy and it was fun. And I'm open to doing more of this. And I'm trusting my guides and higher self to bring me just the right circumstances to do this. Now I'd like you to imagine coming back into your body right here and right now. In your heart. You might even want to place your hands upon your heart. Imagine that in your heart there's this beautiful garden and it's been tilled, and the earth is rich and brown and full. And the sun is shining on this garden in your heart. And it's just the most perfect day. And you walk over to the garden and you feel the earth. And you know that it's time to plant the seed for your growth and for your life ahead. That you're really ready to give this to the universe. That you're really ready. You know, when you want to grow corn, you plant corn. And when you want to grow broccoli, you plant broccoli. And when you want to grow into the essence of who you are, you plant your heart's desire and wishes into fertile ground, giving it to your higher self. So right now, imagine that you have this seed and you're planting it in this earth in the garden. You're very carefully moving the dirt away, creating the perfect hole. And you have this little seed of who you can be, and this little seed of what you're meant, the purpose and path of your life, your gifts as a psychic, your gifts as a healer, your gifts as an intuitive. And you're planting it in the dirt, and you're very carefully covering it with a nice, rich earth. And you're asking the sun, the elements of nature, the sun and the light, the rains and the waters to come and to nurture this. To allow this seed of consciousness to grow in yourself. I am a psychic. I am a channel. I am an intuitive. I am a healer. I am a being of light here to transmit light into the world. And feel that seed, the roots starting to go down into the earth. You can't see it yet above ground, but you can feel the roots starting to grow down into the earth and get really grounded. And then feel the seed germinating with all this love that you're saying in terms of knowing who you are. I am an ambassador of light. I am a teacher of love. I am the embodiment of the divine. And you feel that seed opening. And you feel a sprout coming up, pushing through the dirt, reaching towards the light. And you know that's your essence, that you're ready to grow in this way, that you're ready to blossom and to bloom and to be seen. And just allow that shoot, that stem to burst through the dirt and reach out for the light and feel yourself expanding. And expanding more and growing more. And just as in photography where you can speed it up and you watch the plant blossom, let yourself blossom and see what flower you become. And how beautiful you are in that garden. Just let yourself be beautiful and bright and bold and brilliant. And in your life, be like that flower, willing to grow, willing to break free of any old programming, of anything that's holding you back, willing to go for the light in your life, willing to take big, bold, brave steps forward, willing to step out. Willing to be all that you can be and know that you're beautiful. You're so beautiful. And feel the sunlight on the petals as you're the flower and feel it in your heart. And give thanks for all you had to do was be willing to plant the seed of growth and allow your divine higher self to grow you and to grow through you. And smile. It feels so good to expand into the fullness of our beings. It feels so good to claim our path in life. And just like all the flowers in the garden, can harmoniously live together. You can live harmoniously with all the beings in your life, just being who you are, bringing forth your gifts and offering them. So thank yourself for the willingness. Thank yourself for the commitment that it takes to do this inner work, this psychic work, the emotional work, the healing work on every level, the spiritual devotion, the meditation, the practicing, and listening, the intention to get clearer and clearer and more open, and to be willing to speak and share. And then when you're ready, just bring your consciousness right back here, right now, and hear my voice. And maybe on the count of 3, we'll open our eyes and you'll see me sitting here with you. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back. Welcome into the circle of psychics. Welcome. Welcome. It is safe now. It is safe. You are safe. Isn't that wonderful? We don't have to be afraid of being psychics anymore. We can share this gift openly with love. So just in following up, I would like to suggest some information for you to check out. These girls right here are called the Psychic Twins, and they have a website, www.psychictwins.com, and they are the real deal. Pretty incredible story that they have. I would invite you to check it out. I would invite you to talk to as many psychics as you can. Study with a psychic. Be around psychics. Let yourself perhaps mentor with a psychic, and then when you're ready, let them help you to spread your wings to go out in the world and to share your light. This is John Edward. He also has a wonderful website with lots of information. He does a lot of group readings, which I especially love. A lot of psychics can do individual readings, but they can't do groups. Both of these can do group readings as well. That's why they're up there. Here are some suggested YouTube videos for you to check out that will help you with they're actually examples of people doing group readings. So I think there's many different ways to do it, and you know, a picture says 1,000 words, so you can see how these people do it. And for homework this week, we have review the prior classes, information, and meditations. Remember, you can go back through all the webinars. You can do the meditations. You can do the homework assignments. You can actually review the webinars and the information. So anything that you're forgetting, you can review. And I want you to continue journaling. This is one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself, is writing about your experiences and documenting it. And who knows, maybe one day you'll write a book. And I would like you to continue practicing doing readings. So you get to the place where it just feels automatic and you're really good at it. And then you're able to start doing 2 people. And feel the difference between shifting from 1 person to 2 people, and then start doing small groups, maybe 5, and then you can move to 10, and then you can move to larger and larger and larger, and so that you maintain your center and you're able to offer information specifically and accurately for groups. And go ahead and start researching places where you can do public readings. So taking yourself out there, whether it's a library or a club or a breakfast meeting or a retreat center. This is a metaphysical store you see. That would probably be one of the easiest, is to do readings at metaphysical stores. And they often will ask for a resume. They often will ask for references, and that's okay. And they often, the other thing about metaphysical stores, they will often ask for you to do 1 to 3 mini readings for the owner or the assistants that work there. And again, that's just, you can talk about being a great psychic, but when you actually do a reading and they can feel that energy, then that's when they're more likely to have you be established in their store. And again, watch the YouTube videos. Okay. So today we did review the homework. We answered questions. Again, you can keep sending me your questions. I love to read them during the week, and I'm happy to put a couple up for the webinar as well. And we learned about doing psychic readings at public venues. And again, it's okay to feel the fear. Do it anyway. Next week, Next week is going to be really fun. We're going to do readings via phone, Skype, radio, television, and electronic media. So there'll be things like FaceTime, and this will be a really fun class. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you. Have a beautiful, beautiful, and blessed week. Take my love with you wherever you go and wherever you are.